Hello everyone, I am here today to tell you one of the worst septum piercing stories I have ever heard in my life. And this is a true story. And for all of you guys whose parents don't want you to get septum piercings, or you don't want to get septum piercings because God forbid something happens to you when you have your septum piercing in and it like rips out or whatever you're afraid of with piercings. This is the story that you should listen to and just really think long and hard whether you want your septum pierced or not. Now, that said, I personally still have my septum pierced. This story happened a couple years ago. And honestly, I'm kind of living by the what are the chances that it would happen to me attitude. So here's the story. Before I start, I just want to let everybody know that it gets a little disturbing. So if you are squeamish, I do not suggest going past here because it just gets really like uncomfortable after this. Mentions of a car accident and things that happened with car accidents and septum piercings. So beyond this point, if you are easily like creeped out, grossed out, disturbed, now is the time to click off this video. Alright, so a couple years ago, someone was in a car accident and she had her septum pierced. The someone was not me, so don't worry, it was not me. And she had one of those ones, it was like the horseshoe, so it was like the two balls on the sides, or on the ends, and then it went through her septum. And it was kind of like, it wasn't like big, it wasn't like hanging like super, super low, but it wasn't one of those ones that were like really snug and cute and tight on your septum either. It was kind of one of those ones that were kind of like in the middle, kind of maybe like where my Medusa piercing is. Right now you can't see it because I have a glass piece in there, but right about there is probably where it like hung. She was in this car accident. She was wearing a seat belt. She had like a couple of other piercings, which I can't remember at this moment in time because they weren't really that important in the grand scheme of things. But she gets into this car accident. It really wasn't her fault. It doesn't matter like how tight your seatbelt is or how far away you drive, like from the steering wheel. When you are in an accident, the impact sends you forward. And when the impact hits the car, the airbag is deployed. So what happens is you're going this way towards the towards the steering wheel while the airbag is deploying, so you kind of like go like that and you meet in the middle. And if anyone has ever been hit with an airbag, first of all, it really hurts. It's like somebody took like a book and just like smacked you across the face with it. Like, airbags are not soft at all. And they have this like substance on them. And then the fact that you're moving so fast, you also get like burned by the airbag when it like hits you or when you make contact with it. So she gets hit by the car, the airbag deploys, she goes forward, airbag comes towards her, hits her in the face, saves her life, I suppose. But the one downside is she had piercings in her face. And what had happened was the impact of the airbag hit her septum piercing. And because it was one of those horseshoe ones, it ended up hitting her in the face so hard that her septum piercing went into her lip. The ball on one end went through her entire lip and broke these two teeth in the front. Ugh. And then she was at the hospital and she couldn't even like get the piercing out because it was through her lip and the barb got bent. So it looked sort of like those like corkscrew ones that nobody wears anymore because it's 2019 and that was so 90s. But there was no way for her to get it out of her nose without like really hurting her lip because the angle was weird and because it was stuck and her teeth were broken. She couldn't unscrew the ball. So she was sitting in the hospital with like one bead here through her nose and then the other one like through her lip with broken teeth. Ugh. And it just like, thinking about it just like grosses me out so much. And I'm not like grossed out, if that makes any sense, but more like uncomfortable with like the situation because it's just strange and just ugh. But anyway, the hospital doctors ended up having to like cut the piercing and just take it out into pieces. And she had to go to the dentist and get 2 fake teeth. And that's pretty much really the story. Now that I'm like telling it, it doesn't seem as disturbing or gross as me like thinking about it. But I also have like the first-hand account of it. And I saw it with my eyeballs. And I just remember it being like, ugh, like so terrible. And it's just like, I don't know what I would do in that situation. Like, would I be mad because, like, I did it to myself with the piercing? But I know, like, now that I'm actually, like, telling the story, it's just like, oh, it's not really that big of a deal. But, like, the images are burned into my mind. I can see it. None of you guys can, but I can see it in my mind's eye. And it still, like, freaks me out a little bit. But that is probably the worst. Ooh, oh my gosh. I almost tripped. The worst, like, piercing accident horror story that I have ever heard in my lifetime. And I think about it all the time because I do have my nose, or my nostril, my septum, and my medusa pierced. And then back in the day, I also had my lip pierced. Thankfully, I don't drive anymore. But, if I did, you know, that would be a thing that I would be concerned about. So I think now my concern is mainly like, will someone punch me in the face? Or will I be in a car accident in someone else's car? And will that happen to me? Because I have this, and this is much closer to my teeth than a septum piercing is. And then I wear like a staple in my septum. So it's like 2 prongs, and I'm like, will it like be forced into my nasal cavity and like pierce through like the back like skin part of my nose? I don't know. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm just like, oh, so many bad things could happen. I don't know, freaking out, but yes. So that is pretty much the story that I had to tell. I don't really know what else to talk about. I think that's really it. It's just weird and gross and just disturbing, and I don't like it. But yes, so this is going to be the end of the video. And that's it. There's no way to end this that's like joyful. And I will see you guys next time, I guess.